Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome you and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Blessing Okam, and on behalf of the organizing team, implementers, I warmly welcome you to this insightful webinar on From Dump to Dollar in Understanding the Scale of Ghana's Waste Economy, the first session out of many scheduled for this year. Today's conversation aims to unpack the realities, opportunities, and innovations shaping Ghana's waste economy, while exploring how sustainable waste management can drive economic growth, environmental protection, and community development. We are excited to have an engaging lineup of speakers and participants who are passionate about building a cleaner and more sustainable future for Ghana and Africa at large. This webinar is part of the bigger engagement leading up to the Climate Forward Summit 2026, a platform dedicated to driving conversations, collaboration, and actions around climate sustainability and innovation. Through this webinar series, we aim to build momentum towards the summit by creating spaces for meaningful dialogue on pressing environmental issues. More importantly, these conversations will not end with the summit. They are intended to continue even beyond, inspiring ongoing collaboration, learning, and collective actions toward a more sustainable future. I would also like to inform us that this session will be recorded for documentation and future educational purposes. And as part of our commitment to sustainability and environmental action, we are also pleased to announce our tree gifting initiative, which will be presented at a later time during the course of today's webinar. We are planting these trees as a symbol of our shared responsibility towards creating a greener and more climate resilient future. Through this gesture, we hope to remind ourselves that every conversation and every action towards sustainability matters. Now, to the activity of the day. Before we move to that, I would like to introduce the moderator. He's none other but Sarfoh Danquah. Sarfoh Danquah is a climate adaptation professional with over half a decade of experience in research, project management, grassroots engagement, and policy advocacy. Sarfoh has led and co-led impactful climate initiatives across Ghana. We are delighted to have him guide us today and also facilitate what promises to be an engaging and impactful conversation. Without further ado, I'd like to hand over to our moderator, Sarfoh, to officially begin today's session. Thank you once again for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the seminar. Sarfoh, over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Blessing, and good morning to everyone
Welcome,
as well.
Sarfoh.
It's such an
Good
exciting
morning,
time to
Sarfoh.
be. Okay. Can I be heard properly? Okay,
Yes,
good.
yes, we can hear you.
All right. It's such an exciting time to be on the call with great minds, with people who are ready to learn as well, and then also share knowledge. And so, as Blessing has already set the tone for, preset the tone for the discussion, I would also step in to do what I ought to do so that we can have a very fruitful and meaningful engagement once we spend time on this call. So I'll start with a presentation to set the tone. It's very clear that we are here to share knowledge on understanding the scale of Ghana's waste economy, and we'll do exactly that. So clearly, I'm very certain that all of us, we are not new to the issue of waste, and it's important that as waste continues to plague us, we continue to garner our solutions to solving that problem. It's very clear that waste is a particular problem that is plaguing us. It's not just an environmental problem that we are facing, but it transcends that. It's affecting our socioeconomic life. It affects our health. It affects even our finances in diverse ways. So today we will do as much as we can with the little time we have to unpack the scale of the problem, and then also together with my special guest, we will be able to also find solutions. So I'll start by setting the tone to understanding the scale of waste generation in Ghana. Over to the next slide, we will see that when it comes to waste, Ghana generates a huge amount of waste annually, monthly, and then on a daily basis. On a daily basis, it's 15 tons, and Monthly, we are hitting close to 1,000 tons. We are hitting close to 1,000 tons, and then annually, we are in the 15 million tons, which is quite staggering because what it means is that this is a heavy duty problem that we need to fix, else we'll find ourselves in a huge quagmire of problem, which, if care is not taken, it can pose a lot of threat to us. To the next slide, we would realize that as per the discussion, we there are different types of waste, but because there is little time, we will not be able to examine everything in that spectrum. So from plastic waste to organic waste to textile waste to electronic waste to paper waste and all of that. But per what we have to discuss today, we'll be looking at the distribution of the plastic, textile, and electronic waste in Ghana because these are these are three of the major waste streams that are affecting Ghana's economy. So for plastic waste, as we can clearly see in the distribution, it affects us on a very large scale, 73%, almost 74%. Electronic waste, 66.3%, and then textile waste, 19.8%. But it's quite interesting to find out where these waste streams are sourced from. When it comes to plastic waste, it's very clear that as we are Ghanaians, we use plastic packaging almost every now and then. Most of our home decor full of plastic tables to plastic cups to plastic bowls for cooking to um, almost everything is sourced from plastics. When it comes to textiles, all the clothes we put on, all textiles, where are they sourced from? Straight from Cantonment to all the importation. When it comes to electronic waste, our laptops, our phones, our um, ions, our television, all of these things are coming from all these wastes come from the electronics that we use. And the moment we are not able to find any use for it, the usual thing is that it's supposed to be dumped. It's quite interesting to also note that Ghana has Ghana has a mix of a linear model and a circular model of handling waste. And for over a very long period of time, the usual behavioral um, atmosphere has always been that we take from the environment, and then after taking from the environment, we make things out of it. After making things out of it, it is distributed, it is used, and whilst it's being in use, and then the lifespan is exhausted, it is then dumped anywhere we find convenience to do that. And it's quite clear that almost all of us we are aware that our waste, when it leaves our house, it goes to a landfill. If probably you haven't thought about it, there are various landfills um, close to the coastal communities that rubbish waste is dumped there. What are the causes and what are the effects of all these things? We will be unpacking all of that in this conversation. So I'll move on to my next slide, which talks about plastic waste, the plastic waste crisis. And since we are also aware of um, the plastics that plague us in our community, it's also important to work with the statistics to really understand what what this entire waste crisis is all about. So it's been noted by research that we Ghana annually produces approximately 840,000 tons of plastic waste, or you can put it in a much more simpler way, 0.84 million tons of waste. And unfortunately, it's very quite unfortunate that only about 9.5% of this plastic waste is recycled. And so it means that the 91.5% is still stays in the community, still stays in our local communities. It is still in our urban communities. And the question I would ask is that what is it doing? Doing what? Doing what exactly? It's still polluting our communities, bringing out a whole lot of effects to us. So when it comes to plastic pollution, it's very clear that for most of the floods that we experience in Ghana, it is not because probably it is a change in climate, but it's just because that there is plastic waste in our drainages, clogged our drainages, and so when it rains, just a few millimeters, it causes an entire chain reaction of spillover in our roads, spillover in our communities. People have their houses flooded, and that is what sometimes happens. This same plastic waste finds itself in our streams, in our rivers, in our water bodies, to speak in general terms, and even in the sea. And when that happens, it pollutes marine life. Whilst it pollutes marine life, be it sea turtles, be it all the fish, all the kinds of fish we can think about, these sea life are affected by the plastic that has polluted the water bodies. They ingest the plastics in the water, microplastics. You can put it in that way, and while they ingest it, imagine what happens. Our fishermen go fishing, and then they bring it to the shore for sale. It comes into the market. We go to the market, we buy the food, and in turn we are eating the plastics that we have actually put the into the sea, or has found its way into the sea, and that affects us in a bigger on a bigger scale. Even without talking about what happens in plastic polluting the sea life, plastics in our land also has a greater effect on us. Whilst it ravages the land, we are not able to have access to land for agricultural produce, whether it is livestock or it's in the crop sector. Our sachet water packaging is also a major contributor and a driver when it comes to plastic pollution in our community, whether it has to do with plastic bottles, whether it has to do with single-use poly bags, whether it has to do with even the sachet water itself. It is still a major contributor when it comes to plastic waste crisis in our community. Let's move on to electronic waste. Whilst I continue to set the tone, I do not want to take too much time because my special guests are on the call and we'll be having that conversation. When it comes to electronic waste, still want to deal with the statistics and the data available. It is also one of the major areas, subsectors in the waste economy that affects Ghana greatly, generating about 72,000. Ghana generates about 72,000 tons of waste annually. And clearly, Agbogbloshie is one of the major hubs, if I'll put it in that sense. It's one of the major hubs in Africa that informal waste, e-waste processing takes place. If you've been to Agbogbloshie before, it's quite an eyesore. I would add that it's nothing to write home about because the atmosphere and the environment alone is it's crazy. It's crazy. One of Africa's largest informal e-waste processing sites where you will find excuse me, where you find a whole lot of young people, children, women sifting through e-waste, burning them, trying to mine precious metals out of all the electronic waste that has been collected from local communities and been brought there. And whilst it is there, they use these crude means of extracting the precious metals by burning. As a matter of fact, whilst they burn, they source the gold, the copper, the palladium out of all these electronic waste so that they can also what make purchases, make sales out of it, and then be able to have their livelihoods. It's interesting to find out also the thousands of livelihoods that the e-waste sector also supports. But unfortunately, it's quite clear that whilst you visit the place, it is plagued by unsafe recycling practices, which are creating serious health and environmental risks. One may ask that probably I'm not close to Agbogbloshie. I don't stay there. That is not my area of abode. But clearly, because it's been realized and per my observations, it's very clear that whilst most of them do not find that place as a conducive place to continue to burn, whilst their population continues to increase. They have begun to migrate from Agbogbloshie to various local communities. And so, in other words, they are actually coming to a community near you. They are coming to a site near your community. And when that happens, it means that they will continue to spread out, having different hotspots in other communities. And that is going to cause an increasing chain reaction in the greenhouse gases that are released into the atmosphere. Moving on, we'll get to textile waste. As we frame our conversations, we'll get to textile waste. And for textile waste, um, mostly it is sourced from the fast fashion industry. When I talk about the fast fashion industry, I'm talking about the main hub, which is Kantamanto in Accra. And approximately, we have about 225,000 tons of secondhand clothing imports annually coming into Ghana. That will be about 15 million in a week. And when all this is put in an annual basis, 15 million garments in a week. And when all this is put in an annual basis, we are having about 562.5 million garments coming into Ghana, being imported annually every year. Unfortunately, you speak to these vendors in Cantonment, the bill vendors in Cantonment, the clothes vendors, and they will tell you that anytime the clothes come in, a significant proportion goes straight into the landfills because they are not fit for use. They cannot sell them. It's either torn, it's either weak of poor quality, and they would have to send most of them into the landfills because after all, they would not have any use for it except to even use it for rags. While they even use it for rags, they would have to push it out of their working or market area. And that is a very a serious and a growing contributor to coastal pollution and open dumping. Unfortunately, when it gets to the landfills, they are also banned. And so it's important that we find out how to deal with these subsectors in the waste streams. But um, trying to think about how all this happened, where did we go wrong? What happened? What were the issues that were not, what were the systems that were not put in place to ensure that that does not become a major issue? I realized that waste is the waste that we are churning out these days is as a result of the rapid urbanization that we find ourselves in. Population growth, population is increasing on a large scale. Ghana is seeking to industrialize whilst population is growing, whilst urbanization is rapidly in growth. There is also the need of employability. People need jobs. Jobs ought to be created. Whilst population is growing, there is a need for goods to be produced on a large scale. And whilst all this is happening, if the circular economy is not put into the linear model of production, what happens is that a lot of waste is also churned out. And that means and that has resulted in the increase of waste in our community. This has also led to a huge talking point for us to have this morning on the call. And so for our second point, we want to be exploring Ghana's waste generation, how we can move from the dam to the dollar. And I have on the call Christopher Gyan-Mensah and Dr. Yahaya Yakubu on the call with us, who will be helping us to understand how to move from how to move from the dam to the dollar and understand it and continue to help us to understand the scale of Ghana's waste economy. So before we get into the conversation, I would like to introduce them briefly. Christopher Gyan-Mensah is the Director of Operations at SESA Recycling, bringing expertise in sustainable waste management practices. His background reflects a strong focus on project execution, environmental advocacy within the recycling sector. So, Christopher John, we welcome you to the call. Thank you so much for having time to joining us on the call.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. So, to our next speaker is Dr. Yahaya Yakubu, who is a seasoned environmental engineer and sustainability professional who holds a PhD in environmental engineering from China University of Geosciences, Wuhan, alongside advanced degrees in environmental science and governance and sustainability, with over 12 years of experience spanning municipal solid waste management, waste to energy operations, public health, and local governance. He has built a distinguished career at the intersection of policy, engineering, and community development. And one of his landmark achievements has been to broker the public-private partnership initiatives in Ghana, including sanitation improvement package, nationwide COVID-19 disinfection operations, and house-to-house waste management services, among others. He serves as the managing director at Africa Environmental Sanitation Consult, which is a research and innovation subsidiary of the Jospon Group of companies. And he is also an adjunct lecturer at the Pentecost University. Dr. Yakubu, it's a pleasure to have you on call.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on this call.
So, Chris, let's get right into the conversation, because it's very clear that waste is not just an environmental problem. But first of all, before we ask any major question, we want to still hear from you, from the work experience, how you are contributing to Ghana's waste solutions to your organization through your work, in a minute.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone online. So it's a pleasure being here to share my experience and how best we can also promote sustainability in terms of, and also help in climate change issues. So working with SESA Recycling Limited has been a great pleasure to be able to engage with people from the grassroots. So as I keep on saying, that waste is not waste until it is wasted. So every material that you see around you has a value. So for us to ensure moving from the linear model to the circular model, which we are all looking at, that it becomes very viable for everyone or every individual within our economic setting. So I believe we having the mindset to protect the environment is very key. So that is why we keep on preaching that people should be mindful of whatever we are consuming, whatever we find around the environment is very important to us.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So, Doc, on the same question, we also want to find out from you, though we've read your bio, what you're doing, we still want to have that feel of, in a minute, how through your organization you've been able to contribute to Ghana's waste solutions.
All right, thank you so much. Coming from the Jospon angle, before 2012, what we were doing basically was to collect waste and transport directly to the disposal side, as the landfills, and dispose of. But through research in 2012, we decided to change the narration. So we moved from disposal to material recovery. So we put up what we call the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant. That is a facility that recovers a lot of the waste stream before the residuals are disposed of in the landfills. In 2016, 2017, we realized that that model was key for each region. So we introduced what we call the integrated recycling and compost plants, the RECOPs, in all the 16 regions of Ghana. That is also doing the same material recovery, just to ensure that we take much of the waste from the landfill and extend the lifespan of these landfills. Aside that, we also do recycling of plastics in what we call the universal plastic plant that we have is called UPPR. It's around the Tema enclave. That also does recycling of plastics into other products such as buckets, chairs, tables, and other recycled material for use instead of allowing this to go into the landfill. Okay, so we are still in the process as part of research, trying to find out if we can use the other residual material in processes such as waste to energy, just to make sure that we use all the waste stream instead of allowing them to go into the environment, causing public health and environmental challenges. I'll leave it here.
Okay, so with that said, we want to explore how important African-led research is to your work, because it's quite staggering to gain all these statistics, and sometimes because it is very clear that most of the developing countries in Africa and even Ghana inclusive, we find ourselves sourcing our statistics from the global north. It seems not to really fit into our local context. So from your point of view, being a researcher and also working in a research and innovation consultancy, how important is African-led research to the waste problem we find ourselves in Ghana? Yeah.
Very, very, very key and important. As part of that, the Jospon Group actually launched the Environmental Research Fund in 2023, which was a research fund of about 5 million Ghana cedis. And our target was the public universities. And then we gave these monies to them just to make sure that they look at the value chain of the entire waste management, just to help us to make sure that we are doing the right thing as is being done elsewhere. Aside this monies that we gave out, in 2024, we followed up with another funding for University of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and UDS, just to look specifically into recyclables from the waste stream. So that was also done. And through that, we set up a company called the National Material Recovery Company, which is NAMACO, which is also part of the Jospon Group of companies, just to make sure that we don't continue on the tangent of the linear economy model, but to make sure that most of the material that is in the waste stream is brought back into our economic activities.
My last question to you before I move to Chris. So all this has been done, and Kelly, you've shown us how important Ghanaian-led research is to ensuring that we are able to bring back all the waste that we have in our linear value chain. But the question that comes to my mind, and I'm sure is the same for most people on the call, is that is the financing for the circular economy enough? What will it take for us to scale up so that per the statistics that we saw, that 9.5% of the plastic waste is recycled annually? What would it take for 91%, or if I would dare to say 70% of the 91.5% is also taken out of the communities that we find ourselves in?
Okay. So looking at what is happening currently, I can't say the financing is enough, but it's not enough, but we can do something about it if only we put together our policies and regulations. We'll be able to get funding for more recycling to take place. Now, most countries are looking at or using the EPR, the Extended Producer Responsibility Model, to ensure that whatever companies produce, they take care of the end of life waste that comes out of that. If we're able to implement that model, we'll be able to get funding to upscale, like you mentioned, to around 70 or more. Because for now, what is going on in small scales is not enough to take us to the 70% as you propose. So we need to look at other models of financing, because the current economic situation, there are so many demands on our revenue. So we have to be innovative by also looking at how to pull together resources from other places to upscale or increase the level of recycling.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc. We'll come back to you, but let me come to Chris. Chris, his expertise with SESA Recycling as a director of operations. I've known Chris for quite some time. And so, Chris, straight up to the question. Okay, so the question, I really want to frame the question in such a way that I will really hit it on point. I have realized that you, through your work at SESA Recycling, you've done a lot of community buybacks and a lot of community-led initiatives to ensure that sustainable waste management is achieved. How would you be able to scale community-led approaches to this? Are communities more urgent to have their waste recycled? Are they more enthusiastic about it? Can you paint a picture for us on that point?
Yes, thank you very much. So every waste or every material that we claim as waste, which needs to be wasted, um, has a value, and almost every waste that we are collecting or other organizations are collecting are coming from communities. So basically, every community has the willingness to make sure.
Sarfoh, I think we've
Think
lost Chris.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, we've lost
Yeah.
him.
Okay. That's rather
We are
unfortunate.
just checking up on him, but you may continue. We are checking up on him right now, but you continue.
Great. Okay, so Doc, while we wait for Chris to come on board, let's have a bit of conversation with how um, you've through your organization you've been able to work with MMDAs, communities that have probably maybe you have a community model that you've used for reducing waste. If we can talk about that as well, because Chris clearly stated that when it comes to all the waste that we collect and are dumped in our landfills, they are all coming from communities and they congregate at one point and then they are then dumped. So if that's the case, let's explore how through Africa Environmental Sanitation consults through JOSPON, how you've been able to work with MMDAs to reducing waste in our communities, or probably even also um, the integration of the circular economy. Yeah.
All right. So basically, we have been in talks with a community called Amano Krum on the Ebri to what they call it, Koforidua stretch. Okay, so through that community, we actually agreed to start a model there that will involve distribution of receptacles, taking them through the segregation process so that they can segregate the valuables from those that cannot be recycled or composted. And based on that, we'll link them to recyclers or people that are involved in composting to take or offtake this from the community. It got to a stage, we are still on it. We brought on board another NGO that is ready to provide a borehole as part of that project to that community. So it's something that is yet to take off. But aside that, we do regular research in the MMDs just to inform them of their waste streams. What is the composition and what is the best way to handle the waste? Is it composting? Is it recycling? We do that with the assemblies just to inform them of what is being generated within their assemblies. One of the, as you mentioned from the beginning, one of the best work that we have been citing up to now is from a colleague from AfESC, Dr. Mieza. So if you go online and search for Mieza et al., that did the nationwide waste characterization, and that provides the percentages of the various fractions. And so that has informed a lot of investment within JOSPON. So through this data, we usually know that it's better to do more composting with the waste. So that's what informed the establishment of the ARICOPS, the ACAPs, to just make sure that the compost that we get from that actually maximizes the recyclables within the waste stream. And if I may give some figures, about 61% of the waste is biodegradable, 14 is plastics, and then you have the e-waste and others. For e-waste, you rightly hit it. The valuables within the e-waste stream, the metals, they are very valuable, and anybody involved in that business is able to make a living out of it. More data on the waste stream. About 86% of the waste stream is recoverable, which means that we can convert that into income. And it is estimated that the waste management, that is the waste management sector, has an annual value of about 83 billion Ghana cedis in Ghana. 83 billion. So the 86% that can be recovered is valued at 83 billion Ghana cedis per annum. There's a lot of money in there. So the discussion topic is very relevant at this point, but I think what we have to do more to make sure the waste doesn't get to the dump in the first place, so that we don't move it to the dump back to the community. So let's try to stop it from going to the dump, and then we can make a lot of money from it. Waste, as we know, once it's contaminated, the value goes down, and that is not something good for recycling or composting.
Thank you very much, Doc. Lots of questions coming through my mind with all that you've shared, but Chris is back on the call, so we would go back to Chris to hear from his submission before he unfortunately fell off. So Chris, please, we are here for you. You can.
Yes, thank you very much. Apologies. I think
No
my lights went out and the internet connection also couldn't come back on time, so I had to switch to using my phone. So from my point of view, more of the community collection really helps, because then it reduces the level of contamination. So with what we are currently running around the coastal area in terms of collection drive, so we are able to collect the materials from source before they enter into the environment. I mean, like being disposed in the incorrect manner. And I believe now the narrative is changing gradually. It's changing, because you could see that the Bola taxi guys, when they go around to the communities, even when you are giving them the main trash, they are able to collect the valuables that they want from the waste that you are giving to them. And we believe that having the community collection drives in the various areas really helps us to get the materials in the right manner, in a sense that when we are able to encourage segregation at source, more materials become more valuable, because then there's going to be less contamination at the respective areas where these materials will be used. So I believe that community engagement, community collection drives really helps, and it also promotes, it also helps fight against the climate change we are all talking about or discussing. So I believe that the communities have really a major say, and this mostly works in line with the various MMDCs. So we all believe that we are located within specific constituencies. So if every district is able to have a recovery hub, it makes the works more easier for people to, because there's more value. There's now technology available to utilize materials. There's already market demand for materials, as Doug Riley said. I know they are doing a lot at the UPPR section, where they're able to turn this type of plastic in terms of the PP and HD materials into bowls and buckets back into the system, which really helps. But as we really said, when there's less policy, there's less infrastructure, it becomes really difficult, because there's a lot being done, but then it's been done solo. Like people are doing it on. As I speak to you currently, there's a program going on at Fiesta Royal in terms of all about circularity, how best people can move into the plastic collection drive. So I believe that we all have a role to play. As we really said, Ghana's waste issue cannot be solved by only one person or one organization. We all have to put our hands on deck to make sure that we are making sure that the materials are being collected effectively. People are changing their mindset. Whatever they are consuming, they should be aware that it's having an effect on the environment. So whatever you are going out to purchase, make sure that you are purchasing a material that you can be able to reuse them several times before it ends up at a different section in which no one wants to use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. You've set so many action points in your submission, and based on that, I just want to continue to explore that. You mentioned that with a very good solution, mentioning that it will be ideal if every district has a recovery hub. So that brings your advocacy for community collection drive. And I can see the connection with what Jospon is intending to do per the submission Dr. Yahaya brought in. So if you could just give us a wild guess, how long do you think that it could take Ghana to probably have such district hubs in district recovery hubs in every district to ensure that waste is segregated at the source? Because clearly from both of you, you've mentioned that the moment waste is contaminated, it loses its value, and segregation at the source makes waste more valuable. So with a wild guess, just want to pick up that before I move on to the next question with you. How long do you think it may take Ghana to have these district recovery hubs to ensure that we will be able to scale up?
Okay, thank you. So within a span, probably I can give a range. Within 5 to 10 years, we should be able to do that, because with the existence of ARICOP in the various 16 regions, I have had the privilege to visit almost all the ARICOPs in the northern sectors. So I visited almost all the ARICOPs within the northern regions, and you could realize that they are doing a lot of things. But what I'm saying in terms of my input, in terms of the district level, so when the materials are being done from the district level, it's then able to be fed into the regional levels. Because at the district level, when the materials are being sorted in the right manner, or from the various households or in industries, these materials are being able to be fed into the ARICOP centers, which makes it more very efficient, and also promotes the line of work in terms of the sourcing of the material, how efficient it's going to be used, how quick and how easy people will be able to get the materials. Because, for example, when I got to Damango ARICOP Center, you could realize that they have everything that that they could equally use, but then the flow of the material was not there. So when you have places within the district, it's able to collect these materials, because site location is so very important within the communities where these centers will be set up. So it takes time, it takes policy, it takes also investment. So within the space of 5 to 10 years, actually we are doing well. I'm not saying that we are not, because looking at the previous review, recovery rate was around 5%, and now we're almost about 9.5. That is 10%. So I think that we are making headway, and we believe that we putting our hands together and promoting partnership is very key, because people are doing things on solely basis. That is why we are not seeing much being done, because the informal sector holds a chunk of the recovery in terms of the waste issues that we have in Ghana here. And the formal sectors are very small as compared to the informal. The informal people have the larger volume of people who are doing the collection.
Thank you. So before I move on to the next section of questions, this is to our audience. If you have questions, if you have comments, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat box. I've started seeing some questions coming up, so very soon we'll be asking our guests these questions so that they can give us responses to all of these. But Chris, before we go to our audiences, Chris and Dr. Yahaya, let's do this part, which is to demystify the misconceptions when it comes to waste in Ghana. Clearly, you painted a picture, Chris. You painted a picture that there is something we call Bola taxi. They pick them up. I've seen them around. And most of the times you have conversations with young people, you have conversations with people, they seem not to be interested in being part of community collection drives. That's a very catchy name to give to it than to say Bola taxi. So to put it in a way, Doc mentioned that the waste sector has either, I think the waste sector or the electronic waste sector has the waste sector that we are able to recover, we will be able to recover about 86% of the waste that we produce, and that it holds 83 billion Ghana cedis. So we want to explore the economic opportunities in this. But in doing that, I'm sure that there has to be a way to demystify it. How can we, if I say we, you in the field, help to encourage more people to join in? Because clearly people lack jobs, people want employability. But it's very clear that there is a huge opportunity, economic opportunity, when it comes to the value chain of waste. So please help us understand this from your point of view. Then I'll move to Dr. Yakubu for his response on that as well. Yes.
Thank you. So I believe people need to understand the setting in which we are. It's all about narrative and the capacity building. When people are being engaged, people are being educated, it changed the narrative. Because what you are saying, I will not dispute it, because I find myself in such a situation. When I started this plastic drive, people were asking me, why is somebody you've gone to university and you are collecting plastic? Because I started with cardboards. I was riding around with bicycle, doing cardboard collection, even though I was doing the plastic, but then the cardboards, I was able to sell the cardboards directly myself. But then with the plastics, I was able to connect with people who then come back to collect these plastics. So I believe waste management is not only about individuals, as I rightly said. It's about people, livelihood, and the future of the environment. If you are thinking about the future of the environment, then we have to also put our hands on deck to make sure that we are contributing our best to safeguard the environment. Because if we don't have the environment, where are we going to live? So I believe that young people should change their mindset about looking about. I won't say that the waste management is not a white collar job. There are so many opportunities in waste management. As I already said, people are collecting. At the end, we have people who are doing the collecting. We have people who are doing the sorting. We have people who are doing the processing. We have marketing people who are going to sell out the material. We have management, as Doctor is here. He is also a researcher. People are doing research into how best we can improve upon our system. So there are a whole lot of opportunities in the space which we have to engage the youth and change the narrative that it's not only about the money, but then how best we can also safeguard the environment. Because if we don't protect the environment, where are we going to live? Currently, we are seeing people facing issues about flooding. It's all about this same issue about pollution and improper disposal about waste. Someone will just dispose of a sachet, just a single rubber. You'll think that it's only one sachet rubber that is thrown into the environment. But then if about 80,000 people are throwing sachet rubbers each anyhow, then how best can we be able to contribute? So it's about rechanging our mindset to be able to make sure that we are helping safeguard the environment, and also policies being put in place to control these issues and having the investment to promote circularity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Doc, please, let's hear from your submission on the same question.
I think I just add to what Chris said. When Zoomlion actually started, most of my colleagues got rejected by ladies because they mentioned Zoomlion as their workplace. By then, ladies thought Zoomlion was a dirty job. And so if you're a guy from that place, there's no way they'll accept you. It's not about suit and tie. It's about what we end up doing and the impact we bring to life. So the informal sector, as we popularly call them Aboboya, I will be doing a presentation in Kenya. And one of the recommendations is for them to formalize this group, dignify their activities, and then let them play their vital role in protecting our environment and public health. Now, these people specifically, the Jospon Group has plans for them. One thing we want to do for them is to get them proper attire, proper PPEs, and also have a kind of health insurance just to protect what they are doing, because they are filling in for the inefficiencies of the formal sector, and we can't do without them. And if you go to the dam sites, it is these same informal people who are recovering most of the material that would have ended up polluting our environment, our groundwater, and other things, and getting them back into the circular economy model. So they are not just people we should look down upon. And as Christopher rightly mentioned, it's not about the money. But at the end of the day, the protection they are bringing, protecting our environment and public health, the cost would have been there if they were not there at all. So for me, a waste worker is not waste. And in our part of the world, the thing what we always think of lastly is waste. And I would like to say here that in life, when you are born, the first thing that you do as a child is to cry. After crying, the next thing you do is to start to generate waste. And so the waste worker is very, very vital for our development.
The waste worker is very, very important for very, very vital for our development. And what I keep hearing in my mind is the stories of unsung heroes. This will be a very interesting documentary and a very good narrative to tell people to change the misconception when it comes to the waste sector. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, Dr. Yakubu. But I have some questions from our participants. We really want to hear from them. So I will hold my horses to continue to ask my questions, and then read out the questions that our participants are asking. Marindam is saying this. It's a comment and a question. She says that it is encouraging to hear that the Jospon Group has allocated R&D funding to local universities. Do you think champion companies such as Jospon Group would also have the appetite to support or sponsor specific problem-framed hackathons focused on addressing targeted circular economy and industry challenges? So, Doc, please, I believe this one is yours. She wants to find out whether you think that Jospon has the appetite, or there's room for Jospon to support and sponsor specific problem-framed hackathons that focus on targeting circular economy and industry challenges.
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. So yes, and as part of the mandate of my subsidiary, the innovation department is responsible for this. So if you have any idea or specific project that you think will benefit the country, not just Jospon, I will encourage you to get in touch after this webinar, and let's take it further. I would link you up with the head of the innovation department so that together we can make sure that it works.
All right. So please, I'm sure that whoever asked this question, your answer has been given. So please take note of it. The other one says that Agbugbuleshi supports thousands of livelihoods despite the environmental risk. How do we balance this with safer waste management practices, as Christopher mentioned? site is he says that site is very, very important. So, Christopher, I believe that this question is being asked to
Yes,
you. Yes.
yes. Thank you very much, Sarfoh. So I think a lot is being done to help safeguard this situation. So I believe now some of the development partners are coming on board to help transform such places. So in terms of the electronic waste, you could see that now there are a lot of former companies who are now into the how to decable all these materials to stop people from open burning of these materials. So I believe a lot is being done, but then the education, the education is very key. If we don't educate them to let them understand, even though they are looking at the valuables, which they're also going to make source of livelihood, but then we have to educate them for them to understand that it's about the environment. When you keep on burning, you keep on taking the valuables out, and the one that is not valuable to you keep burning, polluting the environment, you will not have anywhere else to keep on burning the waste. So I think a lot is being done, but then, as I said, there's more room for improvement and engaging them in the right manner, bringing on board a lot of people, because previously we were not able to utilize the e-waste, the thermoplastics, and other components. And I know a lot is being done to make sure that these issues are being handled.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. The next question says that how are we deploying the use of communication for development to support the behavior change component, awareness, sharing on opportunities of waste disposal? Let me take it again. How are we deploying the use of communication for development to support the behavior change component, awareness, education, sharing on opportunities of waste disposal in Ghana? So, Doc, I think we can put this in your quarters, and then we can have a response from you. Yeah.
All right. So for us in Jospong, we have annual radio, TV programs on this particular aspect, where we take listeners or viewers through what they need to do in the process or in the bid to also contribute to sustainable waste management in the country. So we do it regularly. Just that Ghanaians, as we are, we behave differently when we are in our country and differently when we are outside. We're just hoping that one day we'll all repent and do what we do outside here so that Ghana will be clean for all of us.
Okay. Chris, would you want to touch base on that question as well? Because I've seen that you also engage in education, community engagements as well.
Yes, so I believe what Doc said is in the right channel. So it's about we having the change of mindset to safeguard the environment. For me, I'm very keen about the environment. So I believe that having the right communication channels, how best we'll be able to promote circularity is what we are looking at. And organizations coming together to form a good alliance to promote most of the activities. So that is what we are all looking at achieving.
Great, thank you. A lot of questions coming in. I have two more, so I will do justice to that, and we'll continue with the session. With the next question says that with only about 9.5% of plastic waste being recycled, what are the biggest barriers preventing higher recycling rates in Ghana? We all see the negative effects, including the recent flooding in Accra. So this question, I would put it to both of you so that we can get diverse responses from you. Yes. So Doc, please, you can take the lead.
Okay, right. So the issue has to do with the capital cost, CAPEX. Chris will attest to this. If you want to invest in recycling, the equipment needed, you might not have that money if you are not somebody who has already prepared for it. So from the process of having to crush or shred to pelletizing and then converting it back into a product for use. So the capital cost is quite high. And if you don't get most often support from donors, you can't even start it. For instance, that of the Jospon Group, the UPPR, personally, I set up that company. And the idea was, like Chris mentioned, to start from the district level where we aggregate all the plastics. At the district level, we'll do the crushing or the shredding. We'll back them to the regional level. The regional level will do the pelletizing or produce the pellets. And the pellets will be transported onward to the UPPI in Accra here for the final product manufacturing. That was the whole concept about that I put together. But in the process of implementing it, due to financial challenges, we left out all the other processes and then just ended up with UPPI, where everything is now done. They do the shredding, the crushing, they do the pelletization, and then they add virgin material to the recycled plastic to produce whatever we are, such as the waste bins you find in households, and then the other products.
Wow. No, this is a huge barrier. This is a huge barrier. So, Chris, let's hear from you on the same question.
Yes, thank you. So, as Dr. Riley said, so you see how the whole business model was being structured. If it was supposed to flow in that channel, one, it was going to create more job opportunities for people from the respective district, regional level before it ends up. So then, by the time it gets to the central point, a whole lot of job opportunities have been able to be created. And let us also bear in mind that because of these things, we are not able to do all those things. It's creating a lot of rapid urbanization. Population, people keep moving because this space actually has a chunk opportunity for people, and it's about having the mindset. Because I watched the video from Bus Stop Boys with the I think Malam. You could see that those places where they all have good channels, but then those channels are being blocked by waste, so that the water flow is not going through. So we believe that having, as I rightly said, one person cannot do it all alone. The government cannot do it all alone. It needs a lot of infrastructure investments, because for you to even collect, to be able to pelletize, is not an easy job. But then we believe that we've taken it upon ourselves. So we also are looking at the government should implement the EPR schemes to be able to help us in our space.
Amazing. So what I'm hearing from both of you concerning the barriers, in summary, that there is a barrier of infrastructural investment, there is a barrier of the requisition of high capital cost or high financial investments, implementation of policies, especially implementing the EPR model, the extended producer responsibility. To talk about policy, I have a question here also focusing on that. I think we have a few more minutes to end this session, of our discussion. So we'll deal with these last two questions, and then I'll hand it over to the next person. At what point? So, Doc, please, this question is yours. I'll read both questions. The next question will be for Chris. So whilst I do that, then you can take some time also. At what point does affordable clothing become an environmental burden? With 562.5 million garments imported every year, we are in an era of fast fashion. Does government, so this is a two-in-one question, does government get to play a role, not forgetting that the fast fashion, the sale of the fast fashion is also a source of livelihood? And the next question, Chris, please, this one will be for you. Sachet water packaging was highlighted as a major contributor to pollution during the presentation. What practical alternatives exist without affecting access to affordable clean water, given that our water bodies are contaminated and that there is no guarantee the sachet water is 100% safe? Yes, so Doc, please, we can begin with you on your question and then we'll end with Chris's.
All right, thank you so much. The affordable clothing and Chi is called Obronuawu, if I got it right. That means when the white dies, then they bring the clothing here. But now the clothing they bring, I don't think these people have died. They are still alive and they are bringing them here. And as you mentioned in your intro, what percentage of this clothing actually is usable in Ghana here when they bring? I hear a big percentage of what we import usually is waste. So when they get here, we pick out what we can use and the rest goes straight into the dump site. That is where the issue is. Also, I've heard that if you go to buy, if you want to inspect what is inside the bill, you pay more. But if you don't want to inspect, then they sell it to you cheap. So that means the risk of not checking what is inside, that's where we have more of the clothing going to waste. If we can ensure that whatever is coming is properly inspected and certified, so that at the port or wherever they are entering, we can clear them. Whatever has not been certified, we don't allow that in. Then we can be sure that we are getting, or we are preventing most of the unusable fraction from getting into the country. That is how government can help us out. So if your bill is not certified, it shouldn't be allowed entry. Fine, once in a while we have people getting their way through, but we should have a policy on this if we still have to continue to import second-hand clothing into the country. Because for now, I don't think there's any inspection by any authority. They just get in, once you pay your clearance or whatever, straight to Agbogboloshi. And then you can open your bill there. So there should be measures to make sure that whatever is coming in is not waste. And the government can help us in that regard. Another thing is to look at recycling of the unusable fraction, which we are currently looking at as a group. We are trying to see if we can invest in that, so that the fraction that cannot be worn, we convert that into other fractions. We've had interaction with some companies, and they said these unusable fractions are converted into burdens for pets. By Ghana here, we are not people who like pets so much. So probably when we do that, we might have to export back into countries that where you have people acquainted with pets to use or to buy, and then for their pets. So this is my submission.
Thank you very much, Doc. Your submission is raising a lot of questions in my mind, but I'll keep it here. We'll have our conversation after the webinar. So, Chris, let's have your response then. I see a hand raised, then I'll allow Leonard to speak. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Doc. So I think I also come back to you because we are also thinking about something in terms of the textile waste, having a diamond, using the plastic waste and also the textile waste to have an insulation material. So we'll come back to that. So in terms of the sachet, well, it's really an issue, but then I know a lot is being done around the space, because we know of Macintosh using the sachet for roofing tiles. We know of Pyramid using them for plastic lumber. We know of Asase Foundation also using them for plastic lumber. A whole lot of things being done, but then the channels in which you'll be able to get them in the right manner for them to also get to the right places. Because the example is that people who are collecting the sachet ends up bagging the sachet rubbers, adding on to water into the sachet, bringing them to the factory, which also accounts for a whole lot of losses in the space. So we are trying our best to make sure that we are collecting, but then all these things are mostly policy that need to drive them, because those producing the sachet also have to be held accountable. They should be able to know the amount of sachet they've been able to put onto the environment, and how best GSA and FDA they are making sure that these people, and let us bear in mind that now there's a standard being passed or being enacted by the Ghana Standard Authority in terms of recycling of materials here locally in Ghana. So there are standards that guides them. So we believe that these standards will move hand in hand with the EPR scheme. So we are hoping that the EPR scheme will come into play so that the producers, because we should also bear in mind that the producers of the water, they are not the same. They are not the same as the producers of the sachet. So the rubbers. So there are companies that produce the rubbers, for the water company people to produce the water into the sachet. So it's a whole lot of channel which we believe that the EPR scheme will come into play, and also the standard that has been raised, because currently in the industry with the PET we have both the textiles and the bottle to bottle company. So we are blessed as a country, as Ghana, but then the enabling environment is not really helping us to be able to make sure that we are promoting circularity. So in all, we have a lot of work to do, and we believe that with this it will help us go a long way as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Chris. A lot more questions are coming in. I am looking forward that if they are not answered in this session, we can have them answered in the next episode of the Waste to Wealth webinar series. I see Leonard's hand lifted up. It's been lifted up for quite a long time. So, Leonard, please, you are permitted to speak.
Thank you very much, Sarfoh, and all the speakers on this call. It's been very insightful. I've taken quite a lot of bites from the contributions shared so far. However, there are more questions that linger in my mind. Unfortunately, I just have to brief it up with just one. Okay. So looking at all the conversations we've been having about the waste management, one particular area that strikes my attention is the plastic waste. And if you look at Ghana currently, we lack the infrastructure and the technology to effectively recycle several categories of the plastics we have. We have about more than, I think, 8. And we are able to manage just about 3 of them in terms of recycling. Particularly the ones that are multi-layered plastics and even the low-value flexible packaging, we have a difficulty in managing them. So I want to understand from a technical and probably a policy perspective, okay, what really is the barrier? What is the blockade for us to achieve a full 360 recycling of our plastic waste? Because there is an economic benefit out there. There are a lot of plastic waste out there. And if I go out and then I pick any random plastic and I'm able to go and probably sell it for recycling, I'm going to make revenue out of it. It becomes a plus for us. But if I am able to gather, let's say, a ton of plastic, and out of that ton, just about 3 types of those plastic I will be able to gather on a random is sellable, because that is what we are able to recycle in this country. That poses a challenge for us. So I want to understand what really is a challenge here. What is the barrier here?
Leonard, to whom are you posing this question so that it can be directed to that person?
I think any of the speakers that would want to jump in is fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. So, Chris, Doc.
Right, Leonard, I appreciate your concern. As you rightly said, out of all those plenty plastics, how many of them are we recycling now? So, Chris will tell you that HDP, that is the high density polyethylene, and then low density, and then as well as the PETs, the water bottles. They are what currently most recyclers are looking at. Even with the bottles, the water bottles, most of it is exported and recycled outside. Those that go beyond packaging or selling the bottles will do what we call pelletizing. They will pelletize them and then sell them in the form of pellets. Now, the other plastics, as you rightly mentioned, is about economics. Of what value can we make from them when we recycle them? And the recycled material, is it something we can sell within? As a businessman, you'll be looking at all this before you go into such investment. And for countries that want the environment to be clean, usually they support initiatives such as those of Chris and others, just to make sure that they're able to take more from the environment and then save or protect the environment and public health. So the challenge is policy related, also is on the economics, and the economics will cover actually the selling and whatever it is. But also, if you look at the finished products, if you take something like the what do you call it? The one that is used for the polyvinyl plastics. For now, I've not come across any technology that is recycling them. In places like India, even the takeaway one, the black one, and then the other white ones that we use in wrapping food, whatever it is, I've seen them recycling them into pipes or what do you call it, insulators. And these are all technologies that we need to invest in. And I'm sure if you are asked to use your 1 million Ghana cedis to go and buy cars and come and sell as against recycling plastics, most people will go to take the option of buying cars to come and sell, because you can see that people obviously buy a car to use, but to buy the recycled material is something that an investor might not risk it.
Wow, that's very
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Dr. Yakubu. So he said everything. So it's about the investment. So even though there's lots been done, so the highest one will be the HD, which is being recovered more and used locally. You see, when we are able to recycle locally and use them locally, it raises the standard and also improves the circularity in which we are all looking at. So currently, we have HD being done locally. We have PVC as well. We have PP, we have LDP, we have PET and ABS. There are a lot of materials in the system that we can actually use, but then the investment to get those equipments to run them is the issue. Because, as Israeli said, he would rather prefer to invest in selling the cars than going to buy the equipment to make sure that we are safeguarding the environment. So it's a whole lot. So we need people to invest. So I know we will talk a lot about financing. So it's about financing to get the machines being. So we find ourselves in a setting where Chinese and the Indians are dominating the plastic industry here in Ghana, which they are making a whole lot. So when you come to the PET, as I already said, we have the textiles and also the bottle-to-bottle production. So the Polytank group, that is Mohinani, so they had a plan to do the bottle-to-bottle production. That is the PET bottles that we collect in the system. When we are able to collect them, sort them, and get it to their end, they are able to pelletize them and reuse them again for the same bottle. But then the local manufacturing company, the local companies or the bottle companies are not willing to buy those ones because the cost of the virgin materials now are very cheaper than the recyclable ones. So but then what we are all pushing for, because I'm just only want to talk about the PET. So when you come to the PET industry, you see a whole lot of bottles. We have the clear bottle, we have the brown bottle, we have the green bottle, we have the blue bottle. Currently, the challenges with the PET is that companies here now only want the clear bottle and the blue bottle. They don't want the colored ones. So what are we doing with the brown bottles, the green bottles? Now, because of that, there's less value for these materials. So then people are not able to collect the brown and the green bottles, which are being left into the environment. But then when policies are being put in place, for instance, when the PET, if the Polytank group is able to have a percentage of probably the recycled percent should be 30%, the virgin should be 70%, which will help the industry grow because then we are able to ensure circularity because we know that we will use a percentage of the recyclable and also the virgin material to complement this material to promote the activity. So you could see from the system that now there are two companies that have been able to change their bottles from the brown and green bottles. So I'm not doing promotion, but you could see that Guinness Ghana has changed from brown to clear bottle. Coca-Cola has changed from the green bottle to clear bottle, which will make sure that we are able to recycle these materials. But then these people are doing it because they have their own goal or objective. What about the other companies? Now we see a whole lot of shitter advertising companies, shitter this, shitter that, all in sachet. Previously it was not like that. When you go to the shelves, you see them in glasses. But now they are in sachets. So when somebody buys kenke along the roadside. He also buys already the kenke the person is buying has poly bags, almost about 5 poly bags. Before you go and buy another shito in a sachet, coming to add up. So by the time one individual finishes consuming the food, meaning that he's already creating almost about 6 channels of poly materials within the stream. And if you don't have the infrastructure to utilize all these materials, where are they ending up to? Currently, we are even facing issues about our landfill sites. People have to travel all the way from Accra to Akoti to go and dump. People have to travel all the way from Accra to go to Fotobi to go and dump. So it's a whole lot that we. So when we are able to put in the policies, the infrastructure investments, it creates a whole lot of opportunities for people. Which also we are also looking at how best green entrepreneurship and digital waste system can also be able to move ahead of what we are all talking about. So we have a lot of things to do.
Wow, this has been an amazing session. There's a lot to talk about. Green entrepreneurship, digitalizing the green entrepreneurship, the value chain of investments for this. It's quite interesting to hear from you, Chris, that people move away from Accra to go and dump refuse, meaning that the landfill sites in Accra are overflowing. They don't have the capacity to handle more of the waste that we are producing. And it's very clear that Ghana is producing much waste than it can even manage. I believe that at this point, we've all been inspired to join in the fight against indiscriminate waste dumping in our communities. Our thoughts are being told on the line of what we can do as our contribution to ensuring that waste does not affect our public health, does not affect our public health negatively, does not affect our socioeconomic life negatively, and all other aspects of our life. On that note, I would want to thank both of my guests for sharing their expertise, their knowledge, and spending their time sharing with us their wonderful thoughts and their responses to all the questions that we've had. I've enjoyed myself in this mental amusement park, and I am so certain that for all of us on the call, we have also done so.
Thank you very much, Sarfoh. It's been an eye-opener. All the questions that we had today. But I do have a question for you and your guests, your panel members. I'm just curious, what gives you hope about the future of Ghana's waste economy? You don't have to answer now, but then I'll come back to it. So I would like to allow the second presenter. It's going to be a very short presentation on the tree gifting initiative that I talked about. So I would like to ask that both Chris and Doc, please do not log out because I would like to hear from you. What gives you hope, about the future of Ghana's waste economy? On that note, please let me invite Bright to take us through the presentation on the tree gifting. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Blessing, and good morning to everyone. All right, so I'm presenting on Yen Tree Gifting Initiative, which is designed by implementers. So when you look at current literature and reports, it tells us that on the average, about 24,000 of forest is being lost annually here in Ghana, and it's attributed to galamsey activities, agricultural expansion, and other factors as well. And we all understand the benefit of trees in terms of absorbing the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and other benefits, which I won't bore you much on that. But if you are to go by the saying that says that when the last tree dies, the last man dies, we as implementers will not wait for the last tree to die because trees are not just part of the environment, they are part of our survival. So we at implementers have come up with this initiative called the Yen Tree Gifting. So this Yen Tree Gifting initiative is a collective effort because we at implementers can't do it alone. That's why we need everyone on board. So it's about tree planting that integrates ecosystem restoration, climate education, and green livelihood interventions, whilst you are also receiving digital tracking and impact updates. So that's all what the program is all about. We are not just planting trees, but this time around, we are tracking the trees. You are also impacting, people's life through green livelihood intervention as well as climate education. So what has been our contribution so far? As I said, we will not let the last tree die. In the past or in 2024, we worked with SYND and the Ghana Forestry Commission and we planted about 1,000 trees at the Etiwa Forest. Last year, we also worked with our partners, Forestry Commission and Trillium, and we planted about 8,000 trees. Sorry, we planted about 800 trees at Ajin Kotoku, and these trees are being tracked consistently. We are being following up, and they are actually, in terms of the growing rate, is very good that we are excited about. So, as I said, this is a collective effort, and we can't do it alone. That's why we need everyone on board, including the corporate institutions, and there's a package for everyone. So, what are the core pillars of the ENDA Tree Gifting Initiative? It stands on accessibility, meaning that starting from 85 Ghana cedis, everyone can purchase a tree. Also, transparency. A dashboard will be created where you can actually track the metrics in terms of the hectares planted, the report, other metrics as well. So all these things will be shared with our stakeholders that they can have access to. It's also integrated impact. By supporting this initiative, you are not only planting trees, but you are also supporting climate education and livelihood. So these are the core pillars or the core principles of the NDA Climate Initiative. The tree gifting package, the structure. So this is the structure and the package for everyone. We have the growth package, the community package, the legacy package, and the corporate package. And I will go into each of them one by one. So the growth package, starting from 85 Ghana cedis, you get 5 trees planted, you support restoration and degraded lands. You're also contributing to community nurseries. You also contribute to youth and women training, that's the livelihood part of it. And you also contribute to climate education. On the community package, that also starts from the 146 Ghana cedis. You are planting 15 trees. You are increasing tree cover and environmental restoration. You also get the option to name a tree. You are also personalizing a digital. You also have access to a personalized digital certificate and periodic updates. So every update, we are going to share them with you either weekly, monthly, or quarterly. So you are going to receive all the updates from us. You also contribute to livelihood training. Then on the legacy package, that also begins with 375 Ghana cedis. You are planting 50 trees. You are increasing tree cover and environmental restoration. You also get the option to name a tree, personalized digital certificate, and periodic updates. You also get a multiple education engagements and also support for livelihood enterprises, as well as digital tracking system and multiple education engagement. Then lastly, that's on the corporate. So the corporate package also, you get access to a brand visibility with restoration campaigns, full impact tracking and reporting dashboard, ESG and sustainability reporting support, as well as the climate education sponsorship opportunities. So all in all, in this Tree gifting initiative, one of the core elements also is the M&E part of it, where the trees will be tracked and monitored consistently. So we are not just planting the trees and leaving them out there. We're actually going to track them, monitor them, and periodic reports are also going to be shared with our stakeholders. We also report on such of the metrics such as the total trees that are planted, weekly, monthly reports will be shared, the survival rate, the tree growth, which is the height, the canopy spread, all those metrics will also be shared with our partners and our stakeholders. So you can read more on the tree gifting or the Yendia tree gifting initiative on our website. When you go to the Climate Forward Summit, there's a lot of information out there that you can read. So thank you very much, and we look forward to see everyone at CFX.
Now back to my question, Sarfoh, you and your guest. I asked earlier, what gives you hope about the future of Ghana's waste economy, given all that we have to deal with?
Yeah, great. Thank you for the question. What gives me hope about the future of Ghana's waste economy? Um, how do I explain this? I think this is quite an ingrained value in me, and I really haven't found the words to for a long time. I haven't found the words to really express it. What really drives me is that I can put it in this expression. Ghana is my country. I was born here. I understand one thing, that there are a lot of people or young people who are moving out of Ghana saying that the economy, the system is not working so well. But I've always seen this, that when you leave this country and you go to another person's country, that is not the land of your birth. You do not have family members there. Probably you may have family members there, but there is, that connection of safety, that connection of insurance, that connection of security. You may not have it at all in foreign lands. And for many Africans, for many Ghanaians, you don't have security in another person's land. So for me, my hope is that when we are able to change the narrative, when we tell our stories right, many more people will have their mindsets changed. And for me, I have seen this historically, and it gives me the hope that it's possible that there is a great future for Ghana's waste economy. After all, we have Chris, we have Doc on the call, and clearly they are doing great and amazing work. Imagine we have more of these people in the country. I'm sure that we are on the right path to bringing change, positive change to our communities. So I can't use the word to describe this, but this is how best I can explain how I feel deep within my soul about this. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarfoh. I see that you're very patriotic. Chris, let's hear from you. What gives you hope, given all that you have to deal with, even in your line of work?
Yes, thank you very much. So it's all about passion. So I always keep telling people that without a passion, you cannot survive in the industry, the recycling industry or waste management, because there have been a couple of people that I know that have moved out, seniors than me, that have moved out. But we are all hoping that we have a collaborative goal to make sure that we safeguard the environment. So that's what something that keeps me going, and also to create job opportunities for people as well, because you have people that you have to feed. So I always tell people that I prefer to give you a work to do than to always keep giving you money. So when you do the work, then you're able to get the money so that you'll be able to also assist others. So it's about having the right mindset, and also and hoping that the system will be back, because nobody will do it for us unless we do it ourselves. So we keep moving to make sure that we achieve a better goal for our dear nation Ghana and the environment as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Sure.
Chris. I'm happy that we are all hopeful. Doug, please let's hear from you. What gives you hope, given the current situation that we are in? And then, what makes you feel like, yes, we can get better when it comes to Ghana's waste economy?
All right. So for me, there is hope. Ghanaians, as we are, we like to copy. And so when you sew a dress that looks good, the next week you see a lot of ladies going for that particular design. So as we have Chris and Co currently suffering to keep things going, when people get to realize that they are making money out of it, the whole market will be flooded. And then from the JOSPON perspective, we are still pursuing the angle of e-waste management, that's electronic waste management. Last week, we set up a committee to look at the recycling of textiles. So we are moving in there, and I'm sure policy makers and donor agencies will also come into assist. In the area of e-waste, GIZ and others have done a lot. At a point, they wanted to bring together the Agbogbloshie guys, train them, and then take them through a decent way of doing their business so that they are given the right tools to be able to do the disassembly and the extraction of whatever they need to do rather than burning. So a lot is going on in that area. And I'm sure maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, things will change around. Again, we are doing a conversion of plastics to biodiesel. One of my colleagues is doing that as part of his PhD. We've had investors coming in with those proposals as well. So a lot has been done around to make sure that these 3 categories we are talking about are properly treated to protect our environment and public health.
Thank you very much, Doug. I think I totally agree with Sarfoh. Sarfoh said, with the likes of Chris and you, there is hope. So, Sarfoh, please, I'm joining my hope to yours. There is hope. As long as we have the likes of Dr. Yakubu and Chris, there is hope for Ghana's waste economy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session, but I'd like to hear final words from our speakers and then from our moderator also, Sarfoh. What should we be expecting in the next session? I believe the next session is also the last Thursday of June, which is the 25th of June. But before Sarfoh takes that on, I would like to have some last words from Chris and from Doc. Chris, maybe you can go first. Any last comments as we tackle Ghana's waste economy?
Yes, so thank you very much for having me on the call. But what I will encourage everyone is to contribute his or her best in safeguarding the environment and also open up for partnerships to be able to change the narrative about waste so that we'll be able to scale up more from the waste to wealth that we are all talking about, because there's so many opportunity in there that we have to tap. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. Doc, any final words?
Okay, so as mentioned by Chris, there's nothing called waste. It's just that the material has found itself at a place that it's not supposed to be. And so let's all try our best in any small way that we can to ensure that we don't have our waste flowing into the environment to cause harm. The other thing I expect in the in-person one, that will be, you said the last week of June, is to bring a lot of the policy gurus around, let them listen, and if possible, commit themselves into some of these things we are discussing, so that together we'll take it from there. Once they commit themselves, we'll take them from there, and they'll make sure that whatever commitment they make, they will make sure that goes through.
Thank you very much, Doc. Yes, we are engaging the public sector, the government, to be present at the in-person one, but it's not in June, it's in July, on the 9th of July.
Okay.
But before then, we'll have another virtual session, which Sarfoh is about to tell us, to give us more information on. Sarfoh, over to you.
Thank you very much. So we've enjoyed ourselves on this call. Amazing minds. I call this a think tank masterclass on waste economy in Ghana. So for our June session, we'll be dealing with powering with circular economy. Why green energy is the missing piece. There was a lot to talk about how self-interest were presenting. My mind was on clean energy, but I realized we needed to impact much about the economic value when it comes to our waste economy. And so next question, which is the second episode of this waste wealth for the next week, is dealing with powering the circular economy by clean energy is the missing piece. And I want to encourage every single person on the call that you've done so well by joining. Share on your statuses, WhatsApp statuses, Facebook, LinkedIn, on your social media handles. Let's tell a friend to tell another friend so that we'll be able to join on the call Ghana much collective efforts towards waste advocacy so that we'll be able to contribute our part action-wise to ensuring that our waste is properly managed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarfoh. And yes, as we bring this session to an end, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our speakers, Dr. Yakubu and Christopher, for sharing their knowledge, experiences, and valuable perspective with us today. We also would like to thank you, Sarfoh, of course, for moderating this session and ensuring that we had an engaging and insightful sessions. And to our technical team behind the scene, thank you for working diligently behind to ensure that we had a smooth and successful experience for everybody. Most importantly, we appreciate all the participants for taking their time to join us. We thank you for the questions. Those were amazing, amazing questions. Thank you so much for engaging actively throughout the session. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues. This session, like I mentioned earlier, is being recorded and will be uploaded on Implementer's YouTube channel. Engage it, rewatch it, and learn one or two things about Ghana waste economy. I actually didn't know we had over 500 million of clothes being imported every year. Now I'm going to be more conscious and rewear my clothes. I'm going to take it to the seamstress to stitch it if need be, because we all have to play a part in it. We look forward to you joining us on the 25th of June. Same time, 9 o'clock, and we'll have Sarfoh take us through another session. Until then, be safe. Take care. Bye-bye.